Hello, my name is Kojiro. Welcome to my channel, Good Vibration. In this video, I'm going to talk about cycles. Sometimes we're not aware, but everything in existence works in cycles and are ruled by cycles. This is the way the universe and nature functions and organizes itself. The life of humans and every other living organism moves in cycles. That's why, as human beings, we have an average lifespan of 79 years. And it is always the same. Since conception, we go into a 9-month period of gestation, then we're born, we go through childhood, puberty, and adulthood. We grow and develop, we reproduce, and then when we're old, we die. And well, then it starts all over again. And it goes again and again with each new generation. And it has been this way for millions of years. Some cycles are obvious to us, and we can perceive them and see them easily in everyday life, like day and night, changes in seasons from spring to summer to fall to winter, and then it repeats again. The ocean tides, the phases of the moon, the female menstrual cycle, which regulates human reproduction and is very associated with the moon because it is around 28 days, the harvest of fruits and crops, which also follow a cycle, the sleep and wake cycle, also known as the circadian rhythm, the digestive cycle, among thousands of others, some known to man and others probably we don't even know they exist and we are not aware of them. And then there are other cycles which are not so evident to us, but clearly they are there, influencing our lives, for better or for worse, in one way or another. For example, the sunspot cycle, which takes around 11 years. The glacial cycles of the Earth, which last around 100,000 years and are the ones that bring the ice ages to the Earth. The recurring weather cycles like El Niño and La Niña phenomenon that brings drastic changes in temperature, severe drought, and rain to some places on Earth. You know, these are to name a few. All these cycles have a deep impact in our reality, in our existence. Some are interrelated between one another or are triggered to other cycles. They exist in various types and different lengths and durations, from the very small microcycles to the millions of year cycles. And one of the longest known to man is the one that takes the solar system to revolve around the Milky Way galaxy, which is around 250 million years. And this is also known as a cosmic year. Even the brain functions in cycles. For example, brain waves are cycles that regulate our thoughts, behavior, and emotions. And those waves are created when all the mass of neurons are communicating with each other through synchronized electrical impulses. Brainwaves change according to what we're doing, thinking, and feeling. You can think of them as a continuous spectrum of consciousness, and they range from the very slow delta waves passing through theta waves, alpha waves, all the way up to beta and gamma waves. So as you can see, cycles are all around us and in our bodies, in our biological functions. But what is a cycle? Well, cycle comes from the Greek word circle, something that starts, goes around, and comes back to the same point. But when time is involved and recurrent and regular periods of the same phenomenon are involved, it should be called a rhythm, which comes from the Greek word of measuring time. So whenever we talk about cycles, we're usually referring to cycles with rhythm or associated in the context of rhythm. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines cycle as an interval of time during which a sequence of a recurrent succession of events or phenomena is completed. Or another one says, a course or series of events or operations that recur regularly and usually lead back to the starting point. Or one complete performance of a vibration, electric oscillation, current alternation, or other periodic process. So the circle can be represented always as a sinusoidal curve, and several recurring of those sinusoidal curves make up a cyclical motion or rhythm. So, well, there are cycles like breathing, our heartbeat, our brain waves, sound, which is a frequency that we can hear, light, which is even a higher frequency that we can perceive with our sight. And well, now we can start seeing a meaningful relationship and interconnection between, circle, cycles, waves, rhythm, music, sound, vibration, thought, and, well, consciousness. Since ancient times, humankind has been studying the phenomenon of cycles and how they relate and influence their lives. In the ancient Vedic tradition of India, they use what they call the yugas, which are huge periods of time or ages in Hindu cosmology. They explain creation, human consciousness growth, evolution, and destruction through these cycles that will continue circulating or revolving endlessly through time. So there is the Satya Yuga, which is 1,728,000 years, the Treta Yuga, which is 1,296,000 years, the Dwapara Yuga, which is 864,000 years, and the Kali Yuga, which is 432,000 years, for a total of 4,320,000 years, which is called the Maha Yuga, or Great Cycle. And 71 great cycles, or Maha Yugas, equal to 1 Manvantara, which are 100 years of Manu. And 1,000 cycles of the Maha Yuga is called a Kalpa, which is 4.32 billion years, and this is also called 1 day of Brahma. 1 night of Brahma has the same length of 4.32 billion years, and is called a Pralaya. So 1 day and 1 night of Brahma equals to 8.64 billion years. And 36,000 times the complete day and night of Brahma, it's equal to 100 years of Brahma, or his lifespan. And this will roughly equal to 311.04 trillion years, for what they believe is the lifespan of the universe, or one cycle of the universe. And then, well, this is not the end, because there are multiple of these universal cycles recurring into infinity. And why they even bother calculating such immense numbers is a mystery, even to modern Hindu scholars. Even more if you compare the average human lifespan is of 79 years, which is really pretty insignificant compared to these huge numbers. Well, nonetheless, there is very important knowledge, numbers and proportions in these cycles. The Mayans of ancient Central America were also highly developed in arithmetic, calendars, and astronomy. They had their own cycles, with which they identified the beginning of recorded time as the date when they believe the world ends and the beginning of a new cycle starts. So they had their own system where 1 kin equals 1 day, 1 winal equals 20 kin, 1 tun equals 360 kin, or roughly 1 year, and 1 katun equals 7,200 kin, and 1 baktun equals to 144,000 kin, or days. They also had a great cycle, which lasts around 13 baktuns, or 1,872,000 days, or kins. And as you can see, this is a 20-based system. And again, the important thing in these cycles are their proportions and numbers tied to key astronomical occurrences, which the Mayans and other ancient cultures started noting that had some kind of effect or influence in their ordinary lives. And well, the Mayans also had another cycle or chronological count, which they call the long count, that equals to 5,128 years. And this cycle was very related to the changes in the equinoxes and to the precession of the equinox. The precession of the equinox is one of the most important cycles, and it was used and recorded throughout history by many ancient cultures and civilizations. This cycle takes around 25,920 years, more or less, and it was also known as the Big Year or Platonic Year. This cycle is caused by the wobble of the polar axis of the Earth, which moves around 1 degree every more or less 72 years. So in one cycle of 360, you get to the almost 25,920 years. And how the ancients accomplished to measure that accurately is not well comprehended even today, because well, they didn't have advanced measuring tools and equipment, and also because it will have taken discipline and orderly record keeping and sky watching for at least several degrees or a lot of years. The Sumerians, well, they also had their cycles and were very good also at time keeping and time recording. So good, in fact, that our modern calendar, days of the week, and timekeeping methods are directly derived from their civilization. And no one has even dared to change it even more after more than 5,000 years in use. And has been even adopted by all the countries of the modern world. It is a sexagesimal system, meaning that it has a base 60 system. That's why we have 60 seconds in 1 minute, 60 minutes in 1 hour, 24 hours in 1 day, around 30 days in 1 month, and 12 months in a year, which equals to 360 days, well, which is very close to our modern year of 365 days. And if you notice, 360 are the degrees in a circle or a cycle. They probably chose 60 to be their base number because it fits exactly in a circle, and it divides the circle in equal parts, as well as all its multiples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 24, and 30, without leaving the problem of a remnant, of decimals. And it is amazing, this was thought more than 5,000 years ago, when there were no computers or calculators. In modern times, Edward Dewey is one of the most important researchers and analysts of cycles in many kinds of phenomena on Earth. He coined the term, and he wrote a book titled Cycles, the Mysterious Forces That Trigger Events. And this is true, because much of the time we can see the effect, but not clearly the underlying cause. So in many cases, it is a mystery. For example, there are some cicad species, the insects, and they come out every 13 or 17 years, which is a very odd cycle and one of the strangest among all insects. And scientists don't know exactly why, but they theorize that it is related with the abundant cycles of its main predators. And in all his career, Edward Dewey studied and discovered hundreds of recurring cycles in nature, economics, and social behavior. In areas such as astronomy, biology, physics, geology, medicine, finance, and sociology, among many other areas. He discovered cycles in the rotation of galaxies, abundance, activity and reproduction of animals, activity of electrons and molecular vibrations, abundance of disease organisms and parasitic worms, to name a few. And he also found cycles in advertising efficiency, commodity prices, stock prices, crime, fashion, economic recessions, and wars. Between the hundreds of other cycles he studied and discovered. And for instance, war has some recurring cycles in history that go hundreds of years back. And there is a 142-year war cycle, a 57-year war cycle, a 22.2 and 11.2 war cycles that more or less occur in a constant basis. Then we get here to W.D. Gann, which also deeply studied cycles, the ones especially related to the financial markets. And he had a great ability forecasting these cycles using various techniques and methods which allowed him to achieve impressive trading records. Probably he liked to trade the grains a lot, like soybeans and corn and wheat, because there is an underlying cycle which is very evident to humans, the grow and harvest cycle of crops. And that has a direct impact in the supply of the commodity and logically in the fluctuations of its price. So when you see a trading chart of any financial instrument, you are seeing the consequences of a multitude of cycles of many sizes and lengths, known and unknown, interacting and influencing each other at various degrees and stages. Some stronger, some weaker, some identifiable and traceable, others practically invisible and totally unknown. But every one of them exerting their own influence and force to the financial instrument. therefore creating what we can see in the chart and its price action. And well, that is why it is so difficult to forecast any financial instrument, because it's not only one cycle working there, but many cycles operating at the same time. So when we trade with technical analysis in a chart, we are dealing and trading the consequences of many interacting cycles, including the supply and demand, which is a very powerful cycle in itself that moves the price, but not the only one. And it is maybe what Mr. Gann meant when he said wheels within wheels. Imagine a gigantic clock, and inside it, imagine thousands of gears of all sizes working in a synchronized flow, all the way up from the major cosmic cycles, passing through the revolution of the planets, the harmony of the spheres, of Pythagoras, the changes in seasons, the war and peace cycles, economic cycles, all the way down to our own breathing and heartbeat. So it is important to understand that everything is at some point interconnected with everything else, like the butterfly effect of the chaos theory, which states that the flapping of a butterfly here could unchain and set off a hurricane in the other side of the world. And if all cycles could be known, which is almost an impossible task, these cycles or waves could be added together, like in a Fourier analysis, which is used in advanced mathematics and engineering to add waves of different lengths, resulting in a more complex cycle. And here we can see that it starts resembling more what we see in financial charts, and less of the repetitive sinusoidal curves. And hypothetically speaking, knowing all the cycles of the particular financial instrument, which could be hundreds or perhaps even more independent cycles, and adding them together could perhaps give a super complex cycle that resembles the price action in the chart very closely. But undoubtedly, it will be a head-crushing mathematical nightmare. And this is not really the same, but a little bit similar to what Hurst used in his famous analysis of Hurst cycles, which he traded successfully long decades ago. Okay, if you like this video, well, give me a like and subscribe to my channel for further videos related to the law of vibration and trading.